Okay, I've got all my handouts. I've got name tags. You have to think really far ahead when you're going into a prison because you can't, there are things you can bring, things you can't bring. We can't leave once we're there. So there are 15 inside students and 15 outside students. And I don't think they know what to expect. And I think they're nervous. Everybody's nervous. We're almost there. Okay, pull. How you doing? Yeah, folks look wonderful from here. Visitors are warned that there are inherent safety and security risks in visiting a correctional facility, and the possibilities of personal assault or of being taken hostage do exist. Do you understand? Yes. Yes. Okay, so I sign. See you on the other side. All right, hello. Find a seat. All right, so welcome. Let's take a breath. And I am going to begin a sentence, and you are going to finish it with your partner. Each of you can take turns responding. Okay, so you might be surprised to learn that I
went to the U of O when I was younger. I graduated in 2009. What year are you?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior.
This is my last semester.
Oh, wow.
Outside circle, please stand up. We're gonna move over one more seat. Up and over. The weirdest thing I've ever eaten is the quality I value most in a friend. My favorite toy or book as a child was?
Shel Silverstein. Awesome. I was going to say Where the Sidewalk Ends.
No way.
So both same author.
Okay, we're about to move our chairs into a different configuration for one more ice-breaking activity. I wonder if anyone would like to share right now how that felt. Nick?
I feel relieved. I feel like this is cool. It was at first I was awkward. I was nervous. I wasn't sure what to expect, and so I felt like my guard was up a little bit. But everybody that's in this inside circle has been extremely nice, and I've just felt this is cool.
Yeah.
The nerves have disappeared.
Is it surprising that prisons resemble factories, schools, barracks, hospitals, which all resemble prisons? This is a quote from Michel Foucault. Just write down some reactions. However you want. You write full sentences, single words, stream of consciousness, circles and arrows.
One time on the first day of school, my English class, we had a prompt about what school means to you. I was in 7th grade, so forgive me. I said, schools are like prisons. No one wants to be here, but we probably have them for a reason.
Ooh, interesting. James.
Humans have always tried to put structure in things that are naturally chaotic, like a school, a hospital, barracks, especially prisons. So I think that's an attempt to put discipline or structure in an environment, sort of an attempt to cage the beast, so to speak.
EOCI, Eastern Oregon Correctional Institution out in Pendleton, is an old mental hospital that was converted into a prison, and Powder River is an old army barracks. So it's basically, they're just swapping one and the same.
This is beautiful. Incredible conversation, folks. So one thing just to mention historically is a new fancy word called modernity. And these are all institutions that were born around the same time, right? With the same language and assumptions of needing to create order out of chaos and to produce productive workers. So you're reading Foucault for next week. He opens the book with a scene in pre-modern France, 18th, 17th century France. Someone's being drawn and quartered. It's an awful scene of torture. And then he cuts to a schedule of bells and time, where you have to be, how you have to move. These are two different forms of punishment. And what he wants to look at is how did one come to replace the other, right? Because tearing someone apart with vultures and drawing and quartering them in a public square was as normal to the people who were living in that society as prison is now to ours. In other words, you move from beheading someone to incarcerating them. That was meant as a reform. And so we're going to think about that transition.
Optional yard line.
There's 5 units on top. They all have bunk beds. It's an open dorm living situation. We're gonna go all the way down to the very end.
Okay.
Were you able to go up onto the units at all?
We did not go into the house.
I think that's one of the problems with the tour. You're missing a very large picture of our living conditions in themselves, how close in proximity we are to one another.
All our belongings are crammed in one little box. All our belongings, all our possessions, and it's in, I say a box. And it's, I think in our unit, it's like 72 people with three toilets to defecate in and 2 to pee in. It's 3 telephones. We have to split, like Joey said, you have to scream, who got next, and then don't nobody hear you, it's chaos.
Yeah, with the prison tours, I think that I've learned most from actually talking with all of you guys than I would if I was just in a tour, because even though I see what's happening, I don't know who you guys are. I don't know your individual stories and your life experience. So I can still be like, oh, I can see that guy and like picture a whole narrative. His whole life doesn't have to be true. And I leave this building without having any context of what has happened. I can just imagine it.
Using the Prison Tourism article, what are some of the codes among incarcerated people that we have not already discussed? Why are they there? How do you learn about them? How are they enforced? How do the ethics of prison differ from those in the outside world?
You're either a fish or you're a shark. And when new people come in, that's one of the terminologies is you call them, is they're fresh fish. You know, who are they? What are they about? How can we exploit that? And if I can smell fear in him, I'm going to take advantage of it.
I'm considered a smaller guy in the prison population, and I always have been. I had to really toughen up my whole persona. I tattooed all this stuff on me so that I look, you know, at first glance, I kind of look like, oh God, this is a scary guy. I don't want to mess with him.
Personally, I've been affected by that because some of my family members have been prisoner of war. Your whole personality changes after that. And when they talk about themselves, it's like me before that and me after. It's like 2 different persons.
Because the course rests on this dialogue between incarcerated and free, we're collapsing the boundaries we take for granted and dissolving the fear that makes us believe that those walls are necessary in the first place.
This is my 5th time in prison. I've been to every correctional institution in Oregon except for one, and everybody knows who I am when I walk through the door. 12 years old. I shot my stepdad with his own gun, went to a Scared Straight program where they found out he beat me and my mom for 6.5 years.
When I first fell, I had no idea other than my family saying, hey, when you get in there, you make sure you look up the natives. You find your people and you stick with them. because those are who you need to be around.
How do you express yourself and your whole life in a constrained space? How do you represent yourself when you only have a few tools? What are the essential things you want people to know about you? In 6 words.
I kind of went with like the 3 stages of life, like childhood, adolescence, adulthood. Right. The first 2 are childhood, kind and gentle. The second 2, adolescence, alone and imprisoned. And the third is adulthood, numb and survival.
Adopted, loved, sad, frustrated, college, happy.
Mine is provider, father, loved, mama's boy, respected, and honest.
Yes. All right, so we're just going to spend a few more minutes directly with this book, focusing on the issue of juveniles. One of the chapters, I think it's chapter 8, Stevenson discusses the concept of mitigating factors. And this is something that you've all brought up indirectly, even if you didn't use that fancy word. And considering those, quote, mitigating factors should ideally, according to Stevenson, result in some mercy.
Just something about the Ian case. Yeah, Ian spent 18 years in uninterrupted solitary confinement because he was a child and they didn't feel comfortable putting him into the greater population because they thought he may face abuse. So they
abused him.
Put him in solitary confinement for 18 years.
At 13, you can't fathom life in prison, first off. As an adult, you can't fathom life in prison. So how do you expect a child to even be able to think along those lines? Why are you getting life in prison? Or the death penalty?
And your hormones are already out of whack, so you're just going to react. And unfortunately, that's what gets a lot of people into trouble.
I just seen a picture of my son showed me of me when I was little. I was just thinking about, there's a picture of me and my Raggedy Andy doll that I couldn't go to sleep with. I couldn't go to sleep without until I was like 12 or 13, and then going to jail at 14, like where to go from being a kid to going to prison like the next year or so.
How have you changed since you were 13? And what would people miss if they froze you at that moment?
If I were frozen at 13, people would see a scared, angry little boy hiding in the corner, away from the hitting, the kicking, the screaming, and the crying. Hiding in the closet, away from the ones that said they loved us, from the ones that didn't know what love was. They would see a kid desperately trying to be other than he thought and was terrified he would become. A boy that felt alone, stupid, afraid, and alone. I guess I felt alone, I put it twice. A boy that didn't want to grow up to be violent, didn't want to grow up to be a sick the ones that raised him. A boy that simply didn't want to grow up. They would miss out on the care, the love, and the truth that was that little boy.
Thank you.
If I would have been frozen at 13, the world would miss out on my children. Their potential, their beauty, their grace. The world would also miss out on a lot of pain. It is hard to fully grasp that and to completely accept the world might be better off without me, but there is some truth to that.
I think I cry almost every single class. People are more than the worst things they've ever done, and no one is disposable. I think this course helps all the students to move beyond the myths and the stereotypes, looking each other in the eyes as equally worthy human beings. And once I can create a space that allows that to happen, I can just get out of the way.
Some of you may have written papers for this week. If you did, or if you have a good handle on the material and you want to share what you wrote about, that would be a fine place to start. Otherwise, discuss how did this book change your view, or if it did, of what abolition is.
The behavior of the lawbreakers over history has not changed drastically. What has changed is precisely who is in power and how they're enforcing the laws that they want to write.
I came to this work because, as a historian, I don't take our current world as natural or inevitable.
but as the result of human decisions. So the course helps students to understand how the world we live in came to be and how we're living now in the legacy of that past.
Okay, in the remaining couple minutes, think about how you might want to summarize your conversation.
I think one of the interesting things I've noticed about this class, I feel like I came in and I thought a lot of the inside students would be like, prison, like this place is terrible, like in all ways, shapes, and form. And I feel like it's so interesting because in our group, it seems like the outside students are the ones that are like, abolish all prisons, like abolish this whole system. And a lot of the inside students are like, there are people that deserve to be here. We can't get rid of prison.
Relationally, emotionally, mentally, socially, somehow we're all broken or we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't do the things that we do to get ourselves in these positions and put ourselves in these places. And if you fixed the people, then the prison wouldn't be needed anyway.
I totally understand the point that you're making, but rather than like the micro perspective being like the individual person that you say needs fixing and the macro looking at the way that we respond to societal needs when those societal needs are not met can create instability in a person that is then exploited and lands them in jail.
I can do prison very well. What I can't do is live in society without using drugs and committing crime to support my habits. I don't know how to live out on the street. I don't know how to be a normal person out there. And that's, today, is still one of my biggest fears. I've asked myself why that is. Why can I work so well in here but not out there? And in here, I do better with structure. The minute that gate opens and I'm out there and something goes wrong or I fall back into my old ways and I start using drugs, it's all gas, no brakes. I don't really care about consequences because at that point it's too late.
I am also a heroin addict, and like, you don't need to be in prison to stay sober. That's not real. And I don't say that to invalidate you. I say that because there's such a better option, and it's infuriating that instead we're imprisoning people who don't need to be imprisoned. So much crime is financial crime, is crime of poverty. Like, they need social services like treatment for drug addiction and access to education and housing and healthcare that meets their needs.
I want to just remind us as our closing that Miriam Kaba, who's a great abolitionist, always says that abolition is about building things. It's about making things. It's not just about destroying things. So as we go around, please say one word. What will you build?
Passion.
Family. Schools.
Hope. I would have to agree with family.
Durability.
Empathy.
Resilience.
Bridge.
Courage. Otherwise worlds.
A chance.
Fellowship.
Understanding.
Respect.
Love.
Research Program Services, 419B Program Services.
Was so excited to come into this class, especially because of my minute amount of time in jail. I just felt connected to all of you already because I have this history of addiction. Not everyone wants to hear you used to sleep in your car and do heroin. I have just learned so much more from all of you than I could ever give. And I'm grateful for it, and that's all I have. Thank you.
When I was first asked to do this class, my first answer was absolutely not. I'm not a bunch of college students, way smarter than me, sitting around in a room. Absolutely not. A lot of people don't understand the mentality between officers and AICs. At every chance that they get, it's a power struggle to try to make you feel as inferior as they possibly can. They want to assert their dominance and make you feel less than. And it starts to take effect after a while. And so coming into a classroom with a bunch of outside students, I had anxiety about it. I didn't want to be misunderstood or felt judged, and that's never happened once since I've been here.
When I first signed up for this class, I talked to my mom and she was like, you grew up next to a Bosnian prison your whole life and you're really just gonna move to another continent and go back to another one. And I was like, well, I'm gonna take this class and see where it goes. And this is the first time like I actually felt connected with people here since I arrived here, because with all the work I have to do, I'm alone here in college and it was just a hard move.
The bravery that it takes to come in and sit here and talk with us has been astounding to me, but also crucial in my, like what Chop said, we're able to look forward to every Friday. Like I'm actively doing school for the first time in probably about 12 years, and I'm loving it. And that's totally new for me. Like I don't do school. I barely graduated high school. Like for me, that's super important.
This class, even though we all like look forward to it and really value it, it is like very hard. Like the work that we're doing here is like oftentimes witnessing other people's pain and suffering that they're going through, and like seeing each other and like trying to reconcile that pain in sort of like the larger systems that we're looking at. And that is something that is like very complex and takes a long period of time. Like we're taking a semester, but I know that like the things that I've heard and said in this class will last longer than a semester.
It's not very often that we get something in here that is extremely precious and something that I truly am grateful to have. And you know, in a few weeks, it's gonna go away, and that sucks. And I don't like that part, because it's just one more thing that, oh, you don't have no more. So that's my part of it. I mean, I'm glad you're all here. I really am. And thank you very much, but at the same time.
As I was looking back, I realized that when I was younger, I was a lot more gentle, more open, maybe a little naive, but I was driven with a passion to help others and a kindness that I don't feel I have much anymore. And growing up, as I got older, as I got into more trouble, as things happened throughout my life, I started to bottle that kid up. I started to create a box to put that inner child in, and through solitary confinement, through prison, through a lot of different life experiences, I've forgotten he was even there in a lot of ways. And this class, all of you, every last single one of you have made a space to where I can open the lid of that box a little bit and become a little more me than I have been in a long, long time.
Our life experiences are history. Our life experiences are the result of history, but also with our life experience, we can make history. And that so much about mass incarceration has been about narratives. False narratives, dehumanizing narratives, bogus narratives, angry narratives, contradictory narratives, right? And we in this room have had a chance to rewrite our own narratives and to offer an alternative narrative about how the world can be when we connect with each other in the way that we have. And so I see this act as an act of abolition. For those of you who can't imagine a world without prisons, we can imagine it inside. How about that? How about that? That we can even imagine it inside, right? So this kind of human connection and healing, I think, is what we're trying to accomplish as an example and as something that we can carry with ourselves.
So late 2025, if I get my translate, if not,